starting
Okay.
out, do anything and you will get better,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You don't have to like overthink it too much. But
Being
for the
able to love yourself and, validate who you are without any form of expression of it. And that's why I feel like that's what true confidence is in my head. Because
It gives us a journey of self-discovery through our art. Yours might be music or film or writing.
Always been my outlook on everything in regards to life. If I see anybody who has anything, my default is if they can have it or if they can do it, so can I.
We get to
Yes.
speak. We get to do a podcast. We get to work out. We get to. It's a privilege that people often complain and take for granted.
When was the last time you actually gave yourself some credit? Welcome back, everybody, to the Insightful Podcast. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. It has been a while since we've done a solo podcast, and today's topic is about giving yourself some grace. I find that a lot of times we can spiral down a dark tube of negative self-talk, and this could be what's holding you back from chasing your dreams and from accomplishing your goals. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the reason why I wanted to make this the topic of today's podcast is because I've realized this within myself. I was having a conversation the other day with my brother, and we came to the realization that we haven't been excited for many things in our life. Even when it's something that we should be excited for, we're not excited. And I believe this is because we've adopted the mindset of feeling undeserving of those times, right? Because you set yourself up to achieve certain goals. And when you don't achieve them, you feel as if anything else in your life you're undeserving of to have or to feel because you haven't reached those goals, right? For example, today I woke up later than I wanted to, and I felt bad about myself immediately upon waking up. But I needed to stop that loop of negative self talk before it spiraled. And I just told myself, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to start attacking the day. I am not going to waste any moment hating myself or, talking shit about myself just because I woke up a bit later than I wanted to. So we need to recognize this is that if we don't start to give ourselves some grace and to show ourselves some compassion, we're just going to keep talking negatively about ourselves and keep hating ourselves. And when you do this, you become your thoughts, right? And this is something I've realized deeply about myself is that I used to think that the only way to push myself forward was to hate myself or to, think about the things I was doing wrong and hyper focus on those things instead of the things that I was making progress in. And this is a very bad mindset because, like I said before, it holds you back. It holds you back from what you're capable of doing. Because a lot of the times, what I've also realized, I know this is kind of a side point, but what I've also realized recently is that we do not have much time. Like everyone says that, you see it online that you don't have enough time, but recently I've realized that like every day is going by faster and faster. My goals are slipping through my hands when I'm not chasing them. And because of this, you should not be wasting time. We speak about wasting time when you're scrolling or when you're doing things you know you shouldn't be doing. But another big thing is how much time are you wasting in your head? How much time are you wasting talking bad about yourself, hating yourself? Because this is not time well spent. If you're going to build your mindset up, if you're going to build a stronger mind, those talks you should be having in your head should always be positive. It should always be reassuring, not negative, right? And I used to think that having this mindset towards myself was going to make me a better individual, but it hasn't. It's only left me hating myself and, like I said before, going through this negative feedback loop in my head. So maybe this type of method works for other people when they're, bashing themselves, and they're, saying certain things about themselves that isn't positive, and maybe that pushes them forward. But I don't know about you guys, but for me, it has been a constant struggle battling these thoughts. And it's been thoughts that I've created on my own accord because I thought that's what I needed in order to push towards my goals. But it was the complete opposite. It was only holding me back. We also develop these negative self talks because of the standards we set for ourselves. Growing up, I didn't really have much standards for myself. I didn't have discipline, I wasn't pursuing anything great. I didn't think about the ambitions that I wanted to pursue. But ever since then, I've kind of developed this new standard of who I want to be and these standards that I set for myself. And these standards are great because it holds you accountable to who you are and who you want to become. But if you have these strict standards on yourself and you don't catch yourself when you maybe fall short of these standards, that's when that negative self-talk begins. And like I said, with anything, if you don't catch it at the root, at the beginning of the problem, it will just spiral, right? It's the same thing with lust. It's the same thing with anything else, right? If you start binging on food, usually it's because you had that one piece of bad food when you shouldn't have, and then you just start eating a bunch of things, right? So that's the thing when it comes to standards. Standards are always good. You need standards within your capabilities, and you need standards within yourself of who you are as an individual. But if you, fall short of those standards at one point, which you will, because we're not all perfect, you need to not allow that negative self-talk to keep pushing and to keep spiraling and to keep replaying in your head. Because if that happens, that's when you kind of develop what I've been dealing with recently, is this poor negative self-talk that has been consuming my mind for the past couple weeks, I would say. So you need to catch it at the root. You need to catch it at the beginning before this negative self-talk repeats itself over and over again. And we need to start focusing on giving ourselves grace and being proud of how far we've come. Because a lot of the times, even within myself, I'll give you guys a perfect example, right? I got sponsored by this brand. I'm wearing this sweater right now. You'll see it on my Instagram. And you know how long I thought about getting sponsored by a brand when I started social media? It was one of my biggest dreams. Like, I'm getting free clothing. I'm promoting a brand that I'm behind, that I believe in, a Christian brand. And even though I've gotten this brand sponsorship, I was still not very excited. Like, I got this sweater in the mail a couple days ago, and I know my younger self would be very excited in that moment and take it in and be present. But me, when I got it, I didn't really feel any ways about it. And it's because I've been so negative towards myself for so long that I feel even undeserving of this, right? Which is really terrible. And I know a lot of other guys feel that way because, like I said before, we have such high standards, if you do have high standards. And because of that, even when you accomplish something, you feel like you're not good enough, or you feel like you're not deserving of it. So we need to change our perspective. We need to change it to being more proud of the efforts we're putting in, be more proud of the results that we get from those efforts, and just giving ourselves grace when we fall short of what we set out for ourselves, right? Because this whole journey of ours is a lifelong journey. It's not, when I'm 30, I want this, and this, and then once I get that, it all ends. The journey stops, the ambition stops. It doesn't happen like that, right? This journey of self-improvement is a lifelong journey. It's seeking constant improvement for the rest of your life. So you need to give yourself grace if you're not hitting the timelines that you once set out for yourself, or maybe you're falling short of certain goals that you have. But as long as you keep pushing forward, and as long as you keep working towards those goals, then you are doing something. You are putting something in. Just think about your previous self. Your previous self probably wasn't even trying to be better. He didn't even understand self-improvement. He didn't even know that he can change as a person. But you're actively looking for change. You're putting in the effort to become something great. So you need to focus on those things. Be proud of that, because that within itself is amazing. It's truly amazing to even look at yourself in the mirror and decide that you want to become something more. So stop focusing on all the things that are wrong with you and all the things that you're struggling with, and focus on the progress that you've made, the person that you've become over this journey you've been on so far, no matter how short it's been. If you discovered self improvement a month ago and you've been going to the gym a month, be proud of that, because you weren't going to the gym before. If you've tried many business ventures and they failed, be grateful and be proud of yourself that you've actually tried, because many people don't. And maybe your previous self would never even think about trying in the beginning, right? So we need to give ourselves more grace, my friends, because if we don't, we'll just hate ourselves, like I said before. We need to realize, guys, that this journey has many ups and downs. We can't hate ourselves every time we're on the down part of that journey. And that's what I realized is, just like tribulations don't last forever, triumphs don't last forever as well, right? So when we're grateful, we need to be grateful for both scenarios, when we're on the up and when we're on the down, because you've been on the down before. You know it doesn't last forever. And you've been on the up before. You know it doesn't last forever. The best way to deal with this volatile cycle that you'll be on for the rest of your life is to be appreciative of both scenarios, when you're on the up and when you're on the down. That is the only way that we could be grateful and feel fulfilled throughout our journey, is that if we're able to appreciate both moments, because they will happen and they will keep happening. You know, it will, that's just the way life is. If you think that it's constantly up, and if you think that it's constantly down and it will never get better, it's not true. It will never be like that. It will always get better and it can always get worse. So we need to realize this, and we need to be graceful in our approach to it. You know, don't get too negative when you're on the down for a long time, and don't get too full of yourself when you're on the up for too long, because we both know that both those scenarios will not last forever. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast and making it this far. If you enjoyed it, remember to follow us on Spotify. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Let me know in the comments what has been the most impactful episode of the Insightful podcast so far. I'll catch you guys on the next one, and take care.